a really good shot. We're going to grab a couple more.
Perfect. That's good. That's good. That's great.
The idea for this year's campaign really began with all of us recognizing that it was a very different year.
The economy has taken a toll on people. We're going to be facing more demand in all the different services that Federation supports. It's going to be tougher for some people to give. So it was a year to kind of get people to put themselves into somebody else's position.
I'm very good at thinking about my own problems, and I'm not so good at thinking about other people's problems. If you can imagine what it's like for people who are struggling even more than you are, imagine if I lost my job. Imagine if I didn't have a husband who was providing support to the family. Imagine if my parents suddenly became ill. How would that change my life?
Just come a little closer together.
How can we help people see that even though life might be tough, it's still tougher for a lot of other people?
We're seeing a new phenomenon in the community, which is the middle class squeeze. And it's people who were doing really well last year, but there's been job loss in the family, and they've come and they've asked for help. And we haven't seen that before.
I was asked recently to go on a mission. I thought it was time to know where my money was going to go and to find out what the needs of the Jewish community really are.
And we have gefilte fish today.
So the first place we went to was the Jewish Food Bank, and we actually met the recipient. He told me how he pretty much went from riches to rags, and that he spent 6 months of his life living under a tree. Then when I got home, I realized I knew the man. I also know his son. For weeks and still today, I get very sad when I think about this person who's using the food bank. Because I think if this can happen to him, it could happen to any one of us.
If it's been a tough year for me, it's been even a tougher year for the average beneficiary. Tzedakah is the rent you pay for the privilege of living on this earth. I don't have to look very far to see my cup runneth over. I live in the most beautiful city in the world. Whether I give more or less this year, it's not going to affect me a lot. But giving a little bit more is going to affect the people who are on the receiving end of the funds. I know that. So I just don't feel like I've done my part until I've fulfilled that tzedakah.
Do you know how much I paid on Monday for my medication? $400 and some change.
That's as much as your monthly rent.
Exactly. So it comes rent first, medication second, and food third.
Every year you make a gift to the campaign. You insist on making a gift. Why?
Because I think other people need it probably more than I do. Sharing is part of everybody's life. That's the most important thing. And it doesn't matter the quantity. It's how much you can give. Ciao.
I think what you feel is, there but for the grace of God go I. What happened to many people in the last while could have happened to any of us. Your feelings become personal, and you want to do what you can to help. And you want to ensure that somehow you pass that on to others, and that you don't forget in the business of day-to-day living that those needs must be met by those of us in the community who are able to do that.
I have 3 children, 11, 7 and 5. My husband was laid off from work just before the recession last year. He's been working as a freelance engineer. We do ask for help whenever we need, and it's for education and Jewish camps and Jewish programs. We just need to feel close to the community. A few months ago, when I supplied my scholarship for Camp Miriam, they told me, listen, we don't know what to say to you. We hope that it will be fine. My son, he had this amazing experience in camp, and I'm sure that if she would have told us, no, he can't go, it would be just, for a Jewish kid to miss that. So I'm just very emotional about it. I'm happy that it happened, just because some people gave for my son.
We're talking about our next door neighbors, we're talking about our kids' friends' families, we're talking about our own families. We're all in the same community, and community, as far as I'm concerned, means commonality. We need to sensitize ourselves to the different levels of need in this community. If we don't put ourselves in their shoes, then we close the door on people. That's not what we want to do.
I want people to imagine what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes so that they can see that they have it pretty good. Maybe it's not as good as it was last year, but it's still okay. They can give.
We really need people to find a way to kind of say, okay, well, I can have my worries, but, there's people worse off than me. I have worries, but I still have a job. What can I do?
If there's any time someone was going to think, am I going to give? Now's the time, and now's the time to increase our pledge.
All you can ask is to give your best gift. Are you taking a little bit out of your comfort zone? If yes, then you've made an appropriate gift.
This year, we're being ambitious. We're saying we can do better than last year because we know the needs are greater than they have been.
It's good to know that when you are in struggle, you can always have some help from others.
When times are tough, that's the measure of us as a community. That's the time when we really have to stand up and show because it counts.